sportsmen and sportswomen across the country to change the tide in R3 and get more people outdoors.
No, I hear it. First and foremost, yeah, great comments about being a volunteer, and you hit on a lot there. Touched on R3, touched on grants, and I know all of that wraps up into what I've already mentioned as our kind of our education and outreach pillar of the organization. But what that sort of went, that sort of rebranded itself this year, right? We've got sort of a new phrase that maybe your regional reps, for those of you listening, rolled out at district meetings. Maybe you're seeing some content on social or on the website, but touch a little bit on Path to the Uplands and how it sort of encompasses all that we're doing to introduce people to the outdoors, if you would.
Yeah, so Path to the Uplands, if you haven't heard it, is essentially our organization's overarching initiative for education and outreach. And so when you look at it on a diagram, it's Path to the Uplands is up top, and then underneath of it is our 3 pillars, which is hunting heritage, habitat education, and conservation leadership. And the things that our volunteers and staff members are doing across the country affect and utilize basically all 3 of those pillars. But at the end of the day, we really had to evaluate some of our programs and the things that we were doing and really put a spin on them to make sure that we're creating pathways for individuals to get into the uplands. Because the end goal is for all of us to share that common space, which we all love. You know, we fight for so hard through our Call of the Uplands campaign, putting that habitat on the ground. And it's so important to all of us, but we have to find different ways to engage with different individuals and get them into the uplands. So we have all these different programs that we work with, and it's pretty cool when you just look at it as a diagram, because I look at it as a triangle going up to the tip of the spear, which is the uplands. And some people, their first experience may be a hike in nature. It may be a pollinator project that they've seen that the chapter did with the local school. It may be a Women on the Wing event, or it could be that they went and did a learn to hunt or a shooting sports event. The thing that really matters, though, is we're getting people actively involved in the outdoors through these different initiatives, and really getting them to buy into what we're doing. At the end goal is conservation, and hunters and shooting sports is what pays for conservation. And we're trying to activate more people to enjoy the outdoor lifestyle.
No, I hear you, and well said. It's you know, I sort of came to this upland hunting world through my family, like I imagine a lot of people listening did. And I live in Minneapolis now, right? And so we've got thousands of members here, and people see my name and contact information just living here, and they're coming into this world outside of pulling a trigger first, or their dad or their uncle taking them out. And it's just really, really motivating to see some of the programs that we have that can take somebody that maybe has, you know, this would be their first time holding a firearm, or they're very cautious about it and unsure, and, you know, go through this process, and by the end of it, you know, be comfortable pulling the trigger, right? And I know you've got some programs available, and you know, one of the titles here is, you know, Learn to Hunt BMP. So you know, I've seen the diagram. I can't imagine that you've got all the programs memorized. We can direct these folks to where we can find them later, but touch on a few main ones that you feel chapters can utilize this fall, this spring, or in this next calendar year as we're ramping back up. So touch on a few of those, and I'm sprinkling some BMPs if it comes around.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we'll focus tonight specifically on my pillar, which is the hunting heritage side of things. So we won't touch on the other 2 pillars, but within the hunting heritage, there's 2 main focuses that I have. One of them is the hunter side of things. So recruiting, retaining, and reactivating sportsmen and sportswomen, youth, veterans, women's events, adult events, locavores, universities. There are all kinds of different avenues that you can go and target audiences. But within recruiting new hunter conservationists, we're focusing on our learn to hunt and our learn to shoot. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. The other side of my pillar that we won't focus too much on is the R3 side of things when it comes to mentors, because just as important, a part of this, a piece to the puzzle is mentorship. And we have to have mentors out there for all of these new hunters. So whether it's through programming or through different incentives and things we have, we also have to recruit, retain, and reactivate mentors, because just as the people that are on this call probably all had a mentor that brought them into the lifestyle, whether it was family or friends or somebody through a program, somebody probably introduced them. And we're really looking to inspire more people to become mentors. But as far as chapter programming and for staff members, I'm super excited this year that we have a couple of new programs through the Path to the Uplands initiative. And we just released new granting opportunities for chapters to take advantage of. So we have two main things. One of them is adult learn to hunt. So our youth learn to hunt program is awesome. It's been around for 30 years across the country. Chapters are doing such great things with our youth learn to hunt events. And by no means are we going away from doing those youth events. Sometimes I hear that, I get questions, why are we going away from doing youth events? Everybody absolutely loves taking kids out on their first pheasant, quail, deer, duck, whatever hunt it is, getting them into shooting sports. That is a staple, and it will always continue to be as a part of our organization. That being said, most of our chapters have already figured that out, and they're doing such a good job at it. So what we've done now is we're trying to encourage chapters and put another tool in the toolbox for them, and that is the adult side of things. So we have grants this year. We were able to secure some funding for adult learn to hunt events. And so what I mean by that is the target audience for those events has to be over the age of 18. It can be family events. It could be college age kids. It can be, a learn to hunt event through our Service to Solitude initiative with veterans. There's all kinds of different avenues, but the target audience has to be for adults on this. So that is something new. We do have a brand new website. So if you go to the Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, home pages, underneath the hunting tab, there's a hunting heritage tab, and we'll link that here into the chat feature. But that's where you're going to apply for those grants online. The application, there's a checklist, tells you everything you need to do. But for chapters, they can take advantage of those grants. It's just like our Youth Pollinator initiative. It's up to $500 reimbursement. So for the chapters out there that are already doing youth pollinator projects, they're pretty familiar with the program. You keep your receipts, you submit your event report. You have to get pre-approved before the event, and then we'll CMS transfer the $500 back into your account. So very, very similar to that, we have our Learn to Shoot program, where we also have a brand new adult Learn to Shoot grant opportunity, where we're going to be funding adult programming for Learn to Shoot events. So there's some awesome events going on across the country. And one thing that it does get brought up a lot too is, does this include Women on the Wing? There's some great new growing opportunities within Women on the Wing. Absolutely, this also includes Women on the Wing events. So that is not a separate pool or anything like that. The Women on the Wing events are the same as our adult target audience. So that's included in this too. So another great opportunity for chapters. Again, all the information is on the hunting heritage pages of our Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever websites. And it's a reimbursement grant up to $500 per event for those.
Yeah, just phenomenal stuff. And Coby, just a little insight into sort of the story I was telling earlier, but just something you and I got to participate in 2019 was a pilot, basically, right, for the Adult Learn to Hunt program. And it was one of the more, as someone who gets to hunt an awful lot and has mentored in the past, it was one of the more rewarding experiences I've had in my life. The gentleman that I was working with, we met on a Friday night. He had never fired a gun, and we went all day Saturday, and in the evening, it was at a preserve, but still, learn to be comfortable with a firearm, learn to hunt behind bird dogs in a very controlled environment. Shot his first rooster. Planted or not, that's certainly an exciting experience, and one that I hope our chapters take advantage of, especially because we've got grant funds tied to it, which is new. And the participant list here is made up of chapter leaders, and I think it's safe to say that these are No Child Left Indoor funds trickling back down to chapters, right? You said we secured funding, but we also bring leverage. Everywhere that we secure funding or go to one of our funding partners, it's important to have that leverage tied to it. And that's the support from the local chapters. And that's what we're doing. We're creating programmatic structures and funding up above, and we're bringing it back down and hoping that chapters use them. And I hope that you do. And Coby's had another great point that I want to touch on, and maybe you can elaborate on it a little bit. There are some chapter leaders here from Minnesota, and they're probably used to me saying, go to the chapter resource portal for everything. Scroll all the way down to the website, find it there, log in. That's your one-stop shop. And it is. It truly is. However, you guys went a different route. And I think it's probably pretty smart, because some of your programs, maybe not on your side, can be open to the public, classrooms and such. Where are we finding all of the information for these programs? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, all of our programs, and we've done, I believe, a great job with our website, specifically within the hunting heritage, the habitat education, and our Women on the Wing all have nice new functional websites. So if you haven't checked them out, please make sure to do so on both the Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever website. Now, if you do go on there and you do get logged on to the chapter resource portal and you're digging around and stuff in there, there'll be an education and outreach tab that'll link you back to the web pages there too. But we felt that this would be very functional, easy to get to. You can get it on your phone. You don't actually have to log on. All the resources are there and available to use, and it's open. So there isn't anything that's sensitive, or anything on there that needs to be kept internally. But there's some great resources on there for new hunters. If they're a brand new hunter, they're seeking out our organization, they can go on there and find out what kind of shotgun to choose through our Path to the Uplands content series. We just put up a hunting checklist as a brand new bird hunter. What do I need to take out in the field? Well, there's a checklist there. We just produced 5 new videos with CZ USA. They're short films, basically. They're 3 to 5 minutes each, and they talk about our Learn to Hunt program. How to shoot clay targets, how to follow bird dogs in the field, and all kinds of cool stuff that inspires people, it educates them, and a resource that our chapter volunteers can really point people towards and feel great about it. And back to your point, this is all a part of when a chapter supports education and outreach through the No Child Left Indoors initiative. This is the type of stuff that we're doing. We're producing programs, we're producing grants, we're producing content, we're reaching out to an audience, through our social media. The awesome part, you talked about the adult side of things when you were involved in that adult hunt we did in Minnesota. What's so cool about that is now those adults that started hunting now come to chapter meetings. They're going to local pint nights. They're coming to Pheasant Fest. They're becoming involved as volunteers. How cool is that we put on a Learn to Hunt event and we're recruiting volunteers into our organization, that it's now trickling out into those local chapters. That's one of the huge major benefits. They're buying memberships, they're coming to banquets. And as a regional representative, when I spent many years working with chapters, that was the number one question I got. It's like, how do we recruit people? We've been around for 30 plus years. This is a great way to do it. Bring in these new sportsmen and sportswomen across the country, teach them to hunt, teach them to shoot a shotgun, and then in turn, they'll probably help volunteer for the local chapter.
I love it. And just, I gotta say it, love the website, love what was all put on there. And then just again, if for the chapter leaders listening, you don't got to go digging around for your username and password. I know we'd all do that. Your reps will always send you that information, but you can just go on there, pheasantsforever.org, quailforever.org, find those tabs and find all that information there. It's live, available to everybody. Well, good. I've got just a couple more things here I want to touch on. Coby, we do have a question here that sort of pertains to my next topic. It was the first question we had. It's from an anonymous attendee. So what type of insurance do we have for shooting events and who is covered? And I know maybe it was last year, a couple years ago, we released some guidance on this. I think because we've got a lot of chapter leaders in the room, if you could just go over that that would be huge right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things that go on with insurance coverage and events and things. So we're not going to get into the weeds. It's just not the right time to do that. But we did put together a firearm insurance guide a couple of years ago, and there was a big need for it across the country. And we had a lot of that information already available, but it wasn't in one central place. And so we put together the firearm insurance guide. It is again on the website, so you can find it on the Hunting Heritage tab. It is in the resource portal, and we can probably send links to that stuff too if anybody has any questions. But what we did is put a checklist together, so it shows you exactly what you need to do, whether it's a learn to hunt event or a shooting sports event. If it is put on by a Pheasants Forever or Quail Forever chapter and they're in good standing with the organization, we do provide insurance coverage for that event. That insurance coverage does cover all of the volunteers that are helping out. So even if they're not a member, that's a question I get. Let's say it's not just the 5, 6, 10 chapter core leaders that are helping out, but if NAVDA, for example, is there and helping out as a volunteer. NAVDA is the versatile hunting dog, the North American Versatile Hunting Dog Association. We actually have a national partnership with them. So for the chapters listening right now, there's a great tip for you when you're looking for dog handlers for your event. If there happens to be a NAVDA chapter close by, we can connect you with them. They would love to come and bring their dogs and utilize them. Chapter volunteers are so busy. A lot of times that's one of the things is they're not able to bring their dogs because they're doing so many other things. Great tip there is utilize NAVDA. But back to the point, they're covered. Even though they may not be a chapter leader or officer, all of your volunteers are covered. Participants, on the other hand, we have a participant waiver form. And that is a way to cover all of the participants. So if it's a youth hunt, make sure the parents sign it, make sure the kids sign it. If it's an adult hunt, they have to sign it. But every single person, it used to just be that we had the participants, like the new hunters actually signing it. Everybody at your event should now be signing a participant waiver. So if they're a volunteer or if they're a participant, sign it. It helps cover your chapter. It helps cover our organization. All of that stuff is on the firearm insurance guide. I don't need to go into too much more, but it is provided free to all of our chapters that are in good standing. The one thing that helps us maintain that insurance coverage, though, because that is a big thing, is to cover all of our chapters with insurance coverage, is we have to have event reports. So I'm not going to go into that into big detail, but our online event reporting, after you guys have had an event, please make sure that you report it through our online system, because if we don't have accurate record keeping and things like that, just like we do with our banquets, we got to keep track of that, where that funding is at. Same thing here. We got to keep track of our volunteers, our participants, the events, where they're happening. Otherwise, we could lose our insurance with the company. So we got to have those event reports turned in. But the firearm insurance guide covers all of it.
Great. Sounds good. And like you mentioned, chapter resource portal, talk to your regional reps. They can get it. And a great point as well on reporting. Sort of lastly, before we wrap up and answer any leftover questions, Coby, this isn't brand new this year, however, right? But the Mentor Pledge, sponsored by Alps Outdoors, that's something that we rolled out pretty recently. Do you want to introduce it? We've got a video we can play with it as well. Let me know how you want to proceed with that. I'd like to play the video if at all possible.
Yeah, no, I'll just do a really quick blurb on it. It actually kicked off the Mentor Pledge last September, was kind of our kickoff. So National Hunting and Fishing Day is the last Saturday in September every year. And that's kind of what we used as our kickoff last year. And it ran the whole entire fiscal year. And I'm excited to say Alps is back on board as a national sponsor again this year. So they're going to be supporting our organization in multiple ways. There'll be a bunch more information coming out about that. But one of the specific ways that they are helping support us is again through the Mentor Pledge. So Will, if you got that video, let's pull that up and play it, and then we'll hit on some of the key points to the pledge.
Are you guys hearing that?
Not hearing or seeing anything. I don't think you've hit the share screen button yet.
Hi, I'm Howard Vincent, President and CEO of Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever members and supporters, I want to take a moment to challenge America's bird hunters with an urgent call to action. This year, we are uniting all hunters together to celebrate our hunting heritage and recognize the critical role all hunters play in the creation of habitat and wildlife conservation. Hunting is a vital part of our culture, but for many reasons, the participation in hunting has steadily declined, and over the years, we represent a smaller percentage of the overall American population. In an effort to recruit, retain, and reactivate hunter conservationists, we are partnering with Elks Outdoors to challenge you to take new or lapsed hunters afield this season. Taking the Mentor Pledge is our organization's simple, a crucially important call to action for all hunters. In order to give back to those dedicated mentors and inspire new participants, we are utilizing some awesome incentives to encourage those hunters willing to help save our outdoor lifestyle. And this is where you, the upland bird hunter, come in. To participate, simply visit pheasantsforever.org or quailforever.org/mentorpledge to sign up. I am personally taking the pledge, and I'm challenging you to join me. The future of hunting is in our control, and united together, we can make a difference.
Good stuff. I love that video.
Nothing beats a well put together video other than, two guys talking on a Zoom call. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think, Howard, for those of you that don't know, it was Howard, our president and CEO, that was the main narrator of that video. He shared with you sort of the links, Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever website, how to get that. Is there anywhere else that they're going to be seeing the Mentor Pledge, or they can have access to it, or maybe they can share it with, it's one thing that we're talking to a whole handful of chapter leaders right now, but how can we get this message out to the greater public?
Yeah, and we'll be doing things through our organization's platforms, to the general public throughout the year. So we'll be doing things like putting it in our e-newsletter and email blast and social media posts and blogs and things like that, where we can reach our audience, which is the general public. As far as our chapter leaders go, there's a couple of things and a couple of different actions that I would encourage people to take. One is everybody that's on here, or any chapter leader, volunteer, like take the Mentor Pledge yourself, take the Mentor Pledge, take action, take ownership of this R3 movement and invest in somebody and personally take them out and mentor them this season. We put on these events through our chapters and our programs and things, and those are great. But if you take that next step and personally invest in an individual, somebody, within your local community, it could be somebody from church, could be a coworker, it could be a family member, take somebody new that either hasn't hunted before or has fallen away from it. Last year, we just finished up we finished up last year's Mentor Pledge. And we had people from all across the country. I think it was like 45 different states, somebody from Canada, somebody from Alaska that stepped up and took somebody new, and then they shared their story with us. What you do is after you take the Mentor Pledge, you say you're going to take somebody new hunting, you sign up on the website, and then you share your story once you do. Some of the stories that came out of that were just absolutely incredible, Will. People talking about, my dad hasn't hunted for 30 plus years since he left the service. And, this year I decided to get my dad back involved in the outdoors and took him. Taken there, and I mean, all kinds of stories I could go on. But the point being is all of us need to step up and take somebody new hunting. The easiest way for me to talk about where we are as far as hunting numbers right now, even though the pandemic did get a lot more people into the outdoors this last year, and we did see some small spikes in hunting license sales. It's going to be about keeping them, retaining them, keeping them, not just going out that one time, but keeping them in the system. Right now, if you're at a room, just think about a banquet, 100 people in a room at a banquet. In the United States population, if there's 100 people in a room in general, and you say, how many of you are hunters? 4 people are going to raise their hand. 4 people out of 100. That's how small our population of current hunters is in this country. It's less than 5%. And the country's numbers keep going up in population, and our numbers are pretty stagnant. So we have to be able to build more voices out there, to be able to have more advocacy when it comes to things going on in DC and our state capitals, and to have more funding available for conservation. So with all of that said, take the mentor pledge yourself, take somebody new out hunting. To help spread the word to other people besides yourself, we put a couple of tools together. We do have flyers that are available that you can use, you can print, you can send them out in your newsletters, you can share them with your membership. We have email blasts. They do all have a QR code on them. So we've built a QR code where people can simply scan the QR code, takes them directly there. We also put that on the back of this year's banquet program covers. So if you do utilize the Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever banquet program covers from ticketprinting.com, on the back, it's got the mentor pledge right there. It's got a little blurb on the information. Tell the individuals at the banquet, scan the QR code, takes them right to the pledge. They can sign up. What a great way to get yourself in on what's going to be some incentive drawings. Last year, we gave away a guided hunt to Illinois for a mentor and a mentee for the grand drawing. This year, it's going to be a guided hunt from South Dakota Tourism. So it's going to be upland bird hunt for a mentor and a mentee in South Dakota. Plus, we're going to give away 10 Weatherby shotguns, a couple $1,000s worth of Alps outdoor gear, a whole bunch of Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever memberships. Plus, you're just doing what's right and taking somebody new and introducing them to what we all love and fight and are so passionate about anyway. So why not share your story and put your name in the hat for some great incentives?
And you're going hunting, right?
Yeah, it's an excuse to get out too, and it really truly is something that once you do it at first, it's like, man, I'm going to take somebody else out. I'm giving up some of my time. Once you do it, I guarantee you, your mindset will change about it, and it becomes one of the most important things. One of the things that I look forward to the most each year is taking a new hunter out and just teaching them everything that I, kind of had to learn on my own. I learned a lot from YouTube and Google searches and things like that. So a lot of that stuff that I learned the hard way, I can help and teach them. So our volunteers are the best people on the earth, and the knowledge that they've built from the years and the woodsmanship and the successes that they've had, like, we can't let that fade away. We have to pass that on to the next generation. And I just encourage people to take people out and teach them what you know.
Well said, Coby. I don't think we could, I think we'll get to some of these questions right now, but I couldn't end it any other way. We've hit on the main points. We've touched on the programs, the grants that are available, some of the requirements. We've learned about the bird numbers in Nebraska. I appreciate you coming on. We've got some questions that are here. We'll try to get to as many as we can. If you want to ask a question right now, try to keep them sort of on topic or at least high level. There's some here that we just might not be able to get to or answer, but I did post a couple of links in the chat for the Hunter Mentor Challenge and then the Hunting Heritage webpage. I used the Pheasants Forever website because I didn't need to go to two websites, but if you use the Quail Forever site, just same links there. That was one of the questions. There's one here, is Coby the main contact for how to do these type of events? Coby, I know your contact information, I imagine, is in both journals, but you can answer it, but I would say certainly reach out to your regional rep, whomever that may be. But we've shared some resources with you tonight, just the website, in fact, and I was able to find those links just while Coby was talking. So you can always reach out to your regional rep. They are there to support you for sure. That is our job, is to provide customer service to chapters. Coby, you can feel free to leave your contact information in the chat, or you can always just grab it on the website or in the journal, either one, if you get that. But is that probably the best answer to that question?
Yeah, I always refer it back to the experts are going to be your regional representatives. So, and everybody on here is either a staff member or a volunteer. So that's going to be your best place for information. But like I said, a lot of it can be found on the website. So check out the Hunting Heritage web pages on Pheasants Forever and quailforever.org. Also, another great, some states have outreach coordinators. And those outreach coordinators are very involved with a lot of our programs. So if your state is lucky enough to have one of our outreach coordinators, they're another great resource. Again, they'll reach out to your regional representative. If they have a question, they can reach out to me or the outreach coordinator. My contact information is all over a lot of these programs and stuff, the grants and things like that. So don't hesitate to send me an email, ckerber@pheasantsforever.org, ckerber@pheasantsforever.org. You can also call me. I am very understanding of our volunteers' time that they don't, a lot of times 8 to 5, they're working. If I have to get back to you at 9 o'clock at night, I absolutely understand that. And I will make sure to get back to you in a timely manner and answer questions that I can. But again, your regional rep is always going to be the first point of contact.
Sure. I don't know if this is answerable, and maybe it's in the journal or something like that, but did we publicize who won the Hunter Mentor, not won, but was awarded prizes for the Hunter Mentor Challenge last year?
We have not yet. We're still actually be surprised how hard it is to get a hold of people when they've won some stuff. So we were waiting to finalize before we went public with some of the stuff, but all of the individuals have been contacted. So if you were one of those that took the Mentor Pledge and you haven't been contacted, then it doesn't mean that you have one. But I do have a list, and I got ads and information ready to go, and blogs to promote who last year's mentors and mentees were. Some great stories to come out of it. So more to come on that soon. We were just waiting to get some final confirmation from some of those winners.
Sounds good. I submitted, so I'll just assume my new hunting vest is in the mail here in the next week or so. Moving right along, there's a couple here, and I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but this one seems pretty easy to sort of navigate. And it goes back to sort of the requirements for the grant that we're talking about, I believe. So how rigid is the outline to the adult or youth hunting program? So they'd like to host a combination hunt test, dog training, learn to hunt program. There's a lot going on there, right? But I don't know. Is that something that would be allowable, or would you suggest maybe holding 2 separate events that way?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be 2 separate events by any means. So even if it was like a family audience, if it's a pilot event where you're taking a family specific is your target, that would be a great example to where there's youth involved, but the target audience is getting the parents involved in hunting too. So there is going to be a little bit of gray area as we go through this pilot. Now it is first come, first serve on these grants. You have to get pre-approved for it. So when you fill out your information and send that in online on the website, we will get that information, and then we will go through it with our leadership team and decide on some of those gray areas. If it is something where you're involving, I know there's a lot of chapters out there that do like Women on the Wing events, and then they have children, involved in that too as a youth day. You don't have to separate the 2 events out by any means. It's great to see those in combination of each other, but at the end of the day, it is limited funding too, and we don't want to take advantage of this, too much of the situation. So just keep that in mind and reach out. I would absolutely, if it's something that involves adults and we're teaching them, that's the target audience, we're probably going to help you out in that situation. So if you have any of those specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we'll go through the specifics with you.
Sounds good. And then somebody or anonymous attendee, not seeing where you posted the links, I now posted them to everybody. It was just Coby and I that could see the links before, because I'm not good at this yet. But I promise, as we keep going through these chapter happy hours, I will get better. Coby, it's been 41 minutes, not counting the 6 minutes we stared at each other on mute before we got going at 7. I really appreciate you coming on, man. I think this is great information. It was entertaining. The bird report was important, and we've had lots of engagement from chapter leaders. So I'm going to let you go unless you've got something else burning on your mind right now.
I don't have much. Like I said, you got my contact information. Just 2 things. Check out the websites. All the information is on there. I'll be sending out the shooting sports stuff. Just actually got listed. So there is a new under the Hunting Heritage tab, shooting sports. So the Learn to Shoot grants are on there. We'll be sending that out to our regional representatives across the country. But just take action, take ownership. I know the people on this call are the salt of the earth. So they're probably already doing it. Take the pledge. Go ahead, take the pledge, spread the word amongst your community. It's also a great thing. I don't think we really mentioned, but like that video is available. We can get that video to you. You can play that at your banquets. You know, there's a great opportunity for you to play the Mentor Pledge video at your banquet. You know, that little bit of a time where you can do it when everybody sits down after the social hour, after you do the prayer and you're ready to start the live auction. You know, get them fired up. Take advantage of that video that we put together. And even if you don't host an event, that's another great thing, you know, because we've learned a lot about virtual stuff when our banquets all got closed down and a lot of our Learn to Hunts got closed down last year. You know, if there's restrictions that limit you from being able to do a physical event, this is a great way to send it out to your sponsors and members and people in your community and tell them to sign up and take the pledge. And hopefully they're keeping people involved in the outdoors, and maybe they get lucky and go home with some awesome incentives. So other than that, I can't do anything but thank the people on this call, volunteers. You know, I'm a volunteer myself, like I said, but I mean, I don't know what it's on here. There's over 50 people giving up their own time at 7 o'clock at night. What else could they, you know, hunting season
listen
started.
To you and I.
I know. So that's the best. That's why I love our organization, love our volunteers, and continue to do what you do for your local communities.
Amen. Well said. Well, I'm gonna let you go, Colby. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining me. It's back-to-back weeks. The next one, however, we're gonna take a little break, and then we'll get on more of a formalized schedule as the months carry on. The next chapter happy hour is September 28th. Look for an invite from your regional representative. Bob St. Pierre and Jared Wicklin are going to be joining us, and they're going to be talking about how to better market your event. In the meantime, it's time for me to have a happy hour. It's Miller time. See you guys.
Thank you.